accent. I don't think I've ever started a Q&A with howdy y'all, but it felt appropriate for this, right? Yeah. Or maybe I should say, welcome to the extreme! The suck zone! Do we have any Twister fans in the theater? I would hope so. Hopefully you're not like in the wrong theater and you're like, I thought this was Inside Out too. This is such a special opportunity. Let's waste no more time to bring out our guest of honor tonight, Mrs. Helen Hunt. Where do you want to sit? It'd be really weird if we just sat in these the whole time. We could do a live commentary over the whole movie.
I did bring peanut M&Ms for energy.
Yeah, there we go. God, Helen Hunt is here.
This is a big, beautiful theater.
So I have some fun facts about this theater. Does anyone know what movie this theater opened with? May 10th, 1996? This theater literally opened with Twister.
Oh my God.
I have not fact-checked that, but we're going to go with it as a fact. I was told by a manager, and we're just going to accept it. Please don't post this online, but Universal is doing a Twister re-release. Of course, Twisters is coming out. Missed opportunity to make the S a 2, but that's neither here nor there. But Universal was cool enough to still let us do this, so really special thanks to them. But they sent us the gorgeous new 4K of Twister.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
It has to be loud.
It has to be loud. Yeah, do you get that? It's loud, right?
I went to a screening in El Paso, actually. My boyfriend had never seen it. What's that about? And it started and it wasn't loud enough, so I just heartbroken.
It's got to feel like there's a tornado outside, which, sorry, too soon. That might be too soon given some of the weather we've had. But yes, you are going to be, I think, what is probably the first audience to see this new 4K. Like I said, keep that our secret. We were not allowed to promote that, but I wanted you to know so that you could really appreciate it. And I was also told that they just installed a brand new projector. Is this like one of the first movies showing in this projector? So we're really giving you like the premium Twister experience. The only thing we weren't able to do, Helen, these red seats are called D-Box. And they move. Unfortunately, they will. I'm sorry, ma'am. Her face. They will not be activated tonight, but you'll have to come back when it comes back. Yeah. We do not have flying cows in the theater either. Sorry, it's not like the 40X Universal Studios experience. Let's kick this off. It's been almost 30 years since this movie came out. I understand that this movie's kind of been a North Star, so to speak, for people in the storm chasing community. I think there's some people here that are in, round of applause. How many people are here tonight from Oklahoma? Wow, most of the audience. Has not only inspired film fans, but has inspired people to go on and be storm chasers, to develop the real life technology we see in the movie, to become scientists and meteorologists. What is that like for you to have a legacy with a movie like that?
I apologize to all the mothers of the storm chasers who worry about it. It's amazing. It's amazing to hear that something you were part of, spoke to people enough that they went and did that with their life. Is this funky or it's okay?
I think it's okay.
Okay,
Can y'all hear it okay?
Hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. And your Twister co-star, the late great Bill Paxton, is of course a hometown hero here in DFW. He grew up right down the road in Fort Worth. Yeah, let's.
Talked about being from Texas all the time.
Oh, you were proud. Can you kind of reminisce about what it was like to work with Bill?
Well, I remember that, talking about being from here. He's just a great actor. Think about all the movies that he's done, and he's just somehow feels like the guy sitting next to you in the movie, and yet also is this trained, wonderful actor. So I was really lucky that he was my partner for this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also a crazy cast, like maybe one of the craziest ensemble casts ever assembled. So many so that I wrote it down so I didn't miss anyone. I mean, Carrie Elwes, Alan Ruck, Lois Smith, Jamie Gertz, Todd Field, who's now an Academy
world-class director.
Yeah. And of course, the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman, who, I don't know if really you could say he ever did another role like this, but it is by far one of his most underrated roles.
Well, yeah, and then he went on to be, we should have been seeing him play parts on stage for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
He was one of my really good pals, so wish he was here with me.
Yeah, we do too. And despite it being this kind of huge movie, it still feels very kind of indie in a way.
Well, that's all about the director, Jan de Bont. He chose me. I was not like an action hero. I was not the no-brainer choice to be starring in an action movie, but neither was Phil Hoffman. Neither were a lot of people. He chose indie film actors.
Yeah.
And he made a lot of choices that you don't notice in the movie, like there are no weapons in the movie. And yet it's a thrilling movie, And not only are there no guns, there was a scene where we take the thing off and leave it in the road and have a big fight over it. And it's supposed to be that Bill pulls out a knife and cuts it, and the director was like, I don't even want to see that. Like, he wanted it to be fun.
Wow.
And to not make your brain go to all the negative places it could go when you see those things. So choosing the kind of actors he did and making choices like that, I think there's something pure about it, like purely fun about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you, what are your kind of memories of all of you being on set? Because it really did feel like you were kind of probably just out there doing it.
We were totally out there doing it. I mean, there's very little computer graphics, so it's just us being, I don't know if you can picture, like, if you and I are in the scene, there's a jet engine blowing on us, there's huge fans, there's fire hoses, and there's guys throwing stuff in front of the fan. So it did not take a lot of acting, honestly.
Yeah. And kind of behind the camera, I mean, it was a dream team of filmmakers. I mean, you had Michael Crichton, post Jurassic Park, co-writing with his wife at the time. It was the only film that she ever wrote, and I think I read that it was the single most expensive screenplay ever purchased at the time for like $2 million, which was ever unheard of. Produced by Steven Spielberg and Kathleen Kennedy, and directed by Jan de Bont.
And other writers came in. Joss Whedon came in, and
wow,
Nathanson came in. So there was somebody to help with the funny, and somebody to help with her story. This one writer said he saw her as like Moby Dick, like Ahab going after the whale.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes a movie like this fun. We think it's just the action, but it's also that you hopefully hook into a character who wants something and needs something so badly. That's what keeps me in the theater. Otherwise, 15 minutes in, you'd be like, that looks cool, I'm gonna go home. But I think it's that writing and acting, all of which comes back to the directing, because he chose everybody.
That's what I was gonna say. This movie is kind of, it feels so big and so small at the same time.
Yeah.
There's no movie like it. I think that's why we're all here watching it all these years later. It has a fandom around it that you just can't compare the movie to anything, and therefore you can't compare the fandom. But it did feel kind of special even at the time you were making it.
Yeah, I'm often asked when you make a movie, did you know it was going to be a success? And usually the honest answer is no, you never know. I didn't know this was going to be a success, but I knew it was either going to be a big success or a big failure, but it wasn't going to be small.
Yeah, and speaking of that, it was groundbreaking in terms of technology. I mean, this was still kind of early days of, CGI, and of course, post Jurassic Park. It was nominated for an Academy Award for visual effects. People probably don't remember this unless, you're a certain age, but this was the first movie ever released on DVD. Did you know that? Yeah. Because it really showcased this new digital technology at home. But at the time, as an actor, all of that was new.
Yeah, what I remember is they showed us a little clip they mocked up of a tractor like rolling and then the tire coming right at us. And that's not even in the movie. They put it in one of the trailers. But everybody went like this, and it was so new that it made everybody go, wait, what? And then they ended up using that for that giant truck that comes at you, that tanker.
Yeah.
But I had never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody had.
I mean, it was uncharted territory where you're acting against flying cows, for example, that aren't there, or
Yeah.
and now to think where we are in filmmaking,
Yeah.
it was really kind of paving the way at the time, I think, for acting as well.
Yeah, and the director knew that the camera had to be a character, so he would rip the camera out of the hands of the camera operator, which was not always popular. But there's scenes when you watch it, you'll see the camera's on me, and then it's Bill's turn to talk, and the camera goes to him. But he held it in a way that was like someone terrified would hold it, and you feel that when you watch the movie. It's not just calmly panning from actor to actor. So
Yeah.
it's largely him.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, but there was still a good amount done practically on set.
Yeah.
I read that there was a Boeing jet engine that was blowing the wind.
You're like, where have I smelled that before? Oh, on a tarmac.
Yeah.
It was crazy. There was, in that scene where we're down in the ditch, there's stuff flying. You're like, I guess it's on a wire, or is it? Because it was also hard because you couldn't hear anything. That's what made it a sort of scary set, because usually, okay, everything's paying attention to this one shot. And instead there'd be 4 cameras going, jet engines, fans, and you're like, I guess they're shooting. I don't know. We better act because I think they're shooting.
Yeah, which that stuff seemed really intense, because you see it on screen. I mean,
all of it was intense.
Yeah.
You'd get to work and you'd be like, today's gonna be easy. And they'd say, we've invented a hail machine. Wait, what? We've created a house on hydraulics. Every day was a little scary and
how much hairspray was used to keep all that 90s hair in place?
Mine?
All the 90s
Zero.
Zero.
Mine was meant to fly and fly and fly. In fact, I had a couple people when it came out say, wouldn't she put it in a ponytail? I was like, shut up. No.
I think another thing that is interesting about this movie, I watched it with my fiance who had not seen it, which I felt was more on me than her at this point in our relationship, is, especially for the time, to have such a strong female character and to have a kind of relationship dynamic on screen that was not the, romantic comedy, even what we see in action movies.
No, it's true. There's usually a little bit of, are they going to get together later? But they had a whole backstory about their divorce and everything.
Yeah.
And you're right. That's the thing I noticed when they asked me to do it. I was like, they were going to put a woman kind of in the front, which was rare, is rare.
Yeah, but yeah, to have a strong female-led movie, and she's the leader of the crew,
Yeah.
and
It's very fun to get to have, and all those actors were so fun to be with. When we would be sent off to our trailers for 4 hours at a time while they set it all up, we played cards and had a lot of fun.
which I think, having done a lot of these and looking at kind of how the demographics have changed of just pop culture events and screenings, I think there weren't a lot of movies of this genre that women felt like they had. I mean, you of course had Alien and Aliens.
I remember Alien coming out. When is that after? I don't know when anything happened. Is that
79, and
a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, was it?
Also Bill Paxton.
Also
Game
Bill
over, man. Yeah.
And Paul Reiser.
Yeah. All right. Wow, look
Full
at this,
circle.
bringing it all around.
That's right.
But to look out in the audience and see, I'll say this as a dude who's a fan of these movies, it's usually pretty dude heavy.
Yeah.
But
Nerd dudes.
yeah, but to see.
There's a lot of white tank tops here.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's what I was ultimately getting at. Yeah, is that crazy? Because now that you mentioned that this is kind of your second convention, you haven't obviously had a lot of experience in these, and you're not really known for a lot of movies that you would think, oh, I'm going to see Helen Hunt at a pop culture convention.
Yeah.
But that's also the great thing about where we're at with pop culture conventions today, is that we do get a chance to have you, and you do get a chance to see that people are cosplaying as a character.
Amazing. I've
I mean,
never had that, and I didn't think I would, and so this has been a really fun surprise.
well, yeah, I mean, nobody's showing up cosplaying from What Women Want,
Buy some nice clothes.
Yeah, I say that, but now tomorrow you will.
It's a white leather trench coat. If you
Yeah.
have one in your pocket.
I also realize that it's a little bit of a What Women Want reunion, because Marissa Tomei is with us
I heard that
too.
she was there. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully you get to, it's kind of cool to see who you end up crossing paths with these
Totally,
things.
yeah.
So I want to ask you the question that I've really wanted to ask you. Food in movies is something, you know where I'm going. There are certain there's certain food in certain movies that as soon as you watch that movie, you're like, well, I guess I'm gonna go out and find that food, or I'm gonna Grubhub it. Grubhubbing steak and eggs is particularly difficult, I'll tell you that. Are you aware of the kind of pop culture impact that Aunt Meg's steak and eggs has?
Just don't want to tell you what it was really like.
Oh, yeah, no, please
It was
don't.
amazing. It was amazing. Don't get me wrong.
The
But,
steak-
you know, it's a long, hot day. And then you go to lunch, you come back, and you go back to eating. So I looked over at Phil Hoffman, who was just, or no, Joey Slotnick, the guy with the curly hair, is an incredible actor. I looked over at him, and he was just like, I can't keep eating steak.
That's what happened to the flying cats.
That's right. They ended up on that
the
plate.
table. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's interesting because this was pre-internet or early days of internet, and that's just something that seems to, amongst a lot of the things in this movie that have caught on with people, the steak and eggs is, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that sense of the community
Yeah.
and the eating.
And coming home to somebody cool who's happy to see you all. And
I guarantee you half of this audience is gonna go home. You may have already had it today, or you have it ready, or you're gonna find a nearby diner.
big mashed potatoes.
Yeah, too bad we don't serve steak and eggs here at the theater. that would be great. I wanna ask you one last thing that is Twister related, but kind of peripheral is, I'm a huge theme park nerd, and you were involved in the Twister experience at Universal Studios, which is sadly no longer there, but I'm sure many of you are also fans. Hopefully you got a chance to try it. Do you remember kind of?
I remember filming it.
Yeah.
It was quite a ways time after, and they brought Bill and I together, and I don't remember exactly what we did, but I never went on the ride. But when I see people now, when they talk about the movie, they go, I love that movie. When you talk about the ride, they're like, that was really scary.
Yeah.
Funny scary. So what made it so scary? Anybody went on it?
I
Was
think
it terrifying? What was the deal?
they're fighting because it was just literally that scary. Everyone is like,
So literally because of this movie, I wanted to be the strongest.
Right.
wow.
And so, but when I'm 7, going to Universal Studios, I'm like, sure, it's my favorite movie, let's go. And then you see a whole black.
Yeah.
Freaking out.
I heard it was really scary.
It was really, yeah.
Well, you're welcome, and I apologize.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that when you watch the Shining scene, for instance, which another kind of Easter egg that you ended up
Yes,
working with Jack
right.
Nicholson in the way that
Yes,
you
it
did.
is.
It's one of those things that when we watch it on screen, there's something enticing about it. But that put us as close to the action as we could be. And I think also it's probably particularly scary for those of us that have grown up in Texas and Oklahoma,
I know.
Tornado Alley.
I mean, is it even fun? I hope it's fun.
This movie might
It's
hit.
the fun version.
Yeah, we've had a string of bad storms here.
nature.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm sure you get a lot of people just yelling the extreme and suck zone to you. Yeah. Well, kind of now taking us into the movie to wrap up. Almost 30 years later, how do you, now that there, I don't think any of us ever imagined there would be a sequel, that the legacy would live on, that people would still be showing up to theaters to watch this movie in this way. How do you want to take us into the movie? How do you look back and reflect on it?
I mean, I think that I just want people to have fun. What I remember, it was the fun version of a roller coaster ride when it came out, and I have not been in a lot of movies like that. I've been in beautiful movies and sad movies and funny movies, but just that buckle your seatbelt, have fun, crank up the volume. I hope people have fun, and I know every actor would be and is so happy if they worked on something and it makes people smile, So I hope it makes you scream and smile.
I think post pandemic, when all of us kind of gained a new appreciation for the movie theater, and we're so lucky to have it, and I think the fact that movies like this still bring us together in this fandom and this.
That's one thing I'll say is that I don't think there's any replacing going to the movies. For me, there isn't. I love my screen at home, and at the end of the day, I'm tired. I want to just go home and watch whatever. But I don't think whether it's a really serious movie and you hear someone crying down the aisle and you're like, they must be something that happened to them happened to me, or you've had a horrible during the pandemic. Nancy Meyers, who directed What Women Want, she made Father of the Bride.
Yeah.
Parent Trap, my daughter was 16, and I'm sure all of you who are parents were looking at our kids like, are they gonna be okay? Nobody knows what's happening. Those movies, like, you know, lifted us up. So keep coming out to the movies.
Yeah.
That would be my wish, that seeing a movie like this could remind us all that it's fun to buy popcorn, sit with people you don't know, and enjoy something.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no experience like watching a movie like this with the biggest screen, the biggest sound, with a bunch of people who are here because it's an unspoken thing.
Yeah.
You're all here, we're all here because we love this movie in a way that it's a shorthand. You don't have to tell your neighbor why you love this movie so much, they just get it. So, and it's that much more special that you're here with us. I can't think of a cooler way to watch this movie. I wanna say a special thanks to our Twister trucks that came out. Yeah, round of applause. These guys. You know, to devote your life to this movie, but then really to also devote your vehicle to it, especially when we saw what happened to those vehicles. But if you didn't know, and I shared this with you, that the middle truck is Helen Hunt's actual character's truck from the movie. The truck outside is the truck you will see on screen tonight, and that's also is that a Screen Use Dorothy as well? Wow, so it's a Screen Use Dorothy 2 as well. So just so cool, so many cool kind of things that came together with this screening, so it just makes it feel that much more special. And these guys were kind enough to give me this Muskogee college trip, but they wanted you to have one as well.
Thank you.
Did I say that right? No, Muskogee? Muskogee? All the Oklahomanians are yelling at me right now. Clearly a Texas boy. Say it again, Muskogee? Muskogee.
I mean, I think even I know this.
All right, we're gonna end on Helen Hunt making fun of me. Yeah, thank y'all. Keep a big Texas and Oklahoma tornado round of applause going for Helen Hunt. She'll be out at Fan Expo all day tomorrow, so stop by and see her. Wait, you're not tomorrow? This was your last chance to see her. Thank you to Fan Expo, Dallas, and Cinemark for making this possible.